Use speakers or good headphones for optimal auditory pleasure. I'm here today with Phoebe, and I learned about Phoebe because I was researching something called human design. So, Phoebe, could you please tell us, first off, what is your type and what is human design?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I am a 3/6 emotional projector. So I'm a non-energy type, and I think about four defined centers. Five. I have five defined centers, but I'm a split definition, so that's fun.
That's great. I myself am a 5/1, and I'm new to this, guys, so I'm not sure what the 5/1 means yet, but I do know that I'm also a split definition generator. And so, human design, what is it about this that people could know about?
So I think the best place to start when it comes to human design is understanding how it works as a system and how it can possibly help you. So it's not a personality test. It's not like, oh, well, here are some cool, fun facts about me, and that's really interesting. It actually holds a lot of data about your body and about your composition and about your predispositions in a lot of ways. So it is a really, really comprehensive system. I could argue that it's probably the most comprehensive system that when it comes to understanding the self, your genetic makeup, and the way that you're formed. So there is information in your human design chart, depending on what software you use to run it, that, I've paid thousands of dollars to get my DNA tested, and I've literally found the same information in my chart for free. Right, about like my digestion, about my learning abilities, things that we've spent years and years trying to figure out through school, or even just the way that we are attracted to people in relationships. So it does actually break down a lot of the genetic makeup for why we behave in a particular way or what we're predisposed to, really comes naturally to us. So depending on the lens through which you view human design, it's a really, really powerful system. I personally use it because my background is in marketing. So I teach coaches, healers, entrepreneurs how to clarify their marketing messaging and build a content strategy to convert their audience into paying clients. So I use human design with the lens of helping personal brands become more magnetic, just in the way that they're showing up and interacting in the world, but also in the way that they write content.
Great. And so you have this group on Facebook called Magnetic Messaging, and you're promoting this marketing blueprint ebook. Could you tell us more about that, please?
Yeah, so in 2019 started learning human design, and then in 2020, I think it was about January, I realized that I could teach human design in a very simplified way to all of my clients. And because I had a really big background in psychology and archetypal shadow work, I thought that the easiest way to do that would be by creating archetypes that people could kind of channel. So I coined this marketing archetypes sort of theory, and I then took about 100 people in 2020 through that process of teaching them how to align the way that they were showing up in their marketing with their human design. And it really worked. So I started writing a book, and the intention was to just get this information out there to as many people as possible, because it can be really simple. And the number one thing that I hear from people is like, human design is so complicated. Where do I start? How do I understand the system? So I wanted to really give people a couple of tips and an approach that they could get started with without feeling like they need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on going and, studying human design with like an institute or something like that. So I wrote the book and I put it out. I think it was about a week ago now that we launched the book, and it's free at the moment. So we are going to be charging like $5 in a couple of weeks, but for now it's free. And it's about 40 pages with a lot of really helpful tips and exercises so that people can understand what their type is, what their strategy is. So this is all an energetic approach and ethos to the way they're interacting in the world, showing up in their businesses, marketing, writing content. And it also shows you exactly what your brand message is and what you're here to express, which is really cool and something that I haven't really heard many people talk about in the human design world.
Yeah, and so guys, I'll leave a link in the first comment and the description of this video on where you can get a copy of that ebook as well. Take advantage of knowing your human design chart for free. I will post a different video giving you a bit more of background for the people who are super beginner to this. So as someone who has read Phoebe's awesome PDF, it's life-changing because learning about personal archetypes is very empowering for my own content marketing. I feel that it's easier now.
I really noticed that there was a massive, let's say, challenge or opportunity where so many of my colleagues at the time, like I had a background in transformational life coaching, healing, and that's really where that was my first kind of main business when I was coaching. And so everyone that I had, studied with, done NLP, D-Martini facilitation, spiral dynamics, etc., kinesiology with, the number one thing that I noticed was that people really struggled to communicate what they did in one sentence. Everyone just thought that what they did was so complicated. And as someone who's been there and done that, I can say that I definitely had the same mindset. And at one point, I just threw out like that belief that it was complicated and that it couldn't be kind of distilled into one sentence. I was like, no, this is making my life and my business way too difficult. And, I noticed that I would get really squeamish when I would have conversations with people and they would ask me, what do you do? And I would always be like, oh, it's kind of like this, but it's not really like that. And, I would always just water it down. And I noticed that, I would get a lot of sales objections and I would get a lot of just people who would not see the value in doing healing or in doing coaching, and they wouldn't understand the importance or just how profound the work really was. And I was like, no, this is life-changing work. Like, this is mind-blowing stuff, and people aren't getting it. And I was like, well, it's probably because the way that we're communicating this is not effectively getting across exactly what it is. So I realized, people don't have a marketing problem, people don't have a business problem, people had a communications problem. And if we could just communicate what we did clearly, and if we could communicate the value clearly, I'm pretty sure that, it wouldn't be so hard getting clients. We wouldn't be so like in a pattern of just throwing things at the wall, wondering what would stick. So I had that insight, and I then changed the way that I was writing content. I changed the way that I was communicating. I came up with like a one-liner. I started really focusing on communicating transformation through story in my content. I did that while applying a couple of other really core principles. Like I started writing intuitively. I started writing in a way that aligned with my human design. So I was doing storytelling. I was writing my brand story and publishing that, as well as all of these other things. And then applying this 3-step content strategy framework that I learned in advertising several years ago. And when I did that, I started writing content that had a really, really big result. So what I mean is, like, October of 2019, I wrote 3 content posts and I had 44 different people reach out to me asking if they could work with me and how they could work with me, which is pretty wild. Like, 3 content posts, 44 client inquiries. It was a 10K month. And then I had the next 2 months, like, with a wait list of people who, I basically couldn't service more people than that because I was doing one-to-one. So then I started working on a group program. I was like, how can I take what I've learned and put it into a format where I can take many people through this at the same time? So I hired a business coach and put together this program in its beta version and called it the Content Emporium. And it's built on this ethos that there are 3 pillars to really helping you become magnetic and sign as many clients as you want, or just have people kind of recognize you and always be inquiring about your work, and just have the whole process be a really seamless process. So I realized that the first thing that we need as entrepreneurs, as personal brands, is a distinct brand position. So we really need to be getting across our unique points of difference. We need to understand what makes us different in the crowded marketplace. And when we can really establish our uniqueness in our brand, in our messaging consistently, then it's really clear why people would sign with us over somebody else, especially when, everybody kind of does the same thing at the end of the day, right? So it's establishing that distinction. The second thing that I realized that people needed was the energetics. And this is a really, really big focus for me in my work, is knowing the science of what actually makes us and our work and our content magnetic. So I realized that, there is an energetics to marketing and sales. And it really does come down to understanding the psychology of push-pull. It comes down to understanding what creates attraction what creates like that magnetic effect where people are drawn towards you, and understanding that on a psychological and an energetic level, like really understanding certainty, understanding what creates a repellent effect, and breaking down sales conversations and looking at beneath the script, beneath the words that are being said, what's the tone and what are the beliefs that you can feel are emanating from one person to the next person, right? So the way that we write, the way that we show up, the way that we speak, looking at the energetics in those dynamics, and I call that the energetics of marketing, as well as where in the body things are coming from. Like, are we writing from our minds? Are we writing from our intuition? Like what part of ourselves are we accessing, and how do we access the most magnetic parts that know exactly what to say in the exact tone to say it to the right person at the right time. So this is where it gets super mystical, and it's very like Joe Dispenza kind of quantum-esque. And the third thing that I found was really important and absolutely necessary to be able to create this effect was to understand how to connect with people. So really understanding how to know your audience and your ideal customer really, really well, knowing how to communicate to them and connect to them in a way that resonates and lands with them. So this is all about communicating value, really understanding how to open yourself up to be authentic, more vulnerable, and really make sure that you're sharing from a place where they can feel you and the truth of who you are, so that they then trust you, so that they then know you. And there's this sense of likability and a sense of, I'm not just getting something that someone's manufacturing, but instead I'm getting a real, raw human being.
Exactly. And thank you for that. And so, guys, I'm just bridging this for you. For those not familiar with energetics, just think of it as alignment. Basically, you are attracting to you, your tribe, the clients or customers that really resonate with your message. And for them, it's easy to connect with you because you're there showing it authentically. And in the Content Emporium, and as you learn more about human design, you'll understand that it's actually effortless power that you're creating this from. Grounding methods include breathwork, body scan, guided meditations, energy healing, sound baths. I offer one on one and small group coaching, masterminds, in person, and live stream events. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your likes, shares, and comments.